Amanda, do you have a problem with me? You're always glaring at me like that. Why don't you open your eyes wider? Here, like this. Mom said as she forcefully pried my eyes open with her fingers, laughing hysterically at the sight. What a ridiculous face. I can't believe you're actually my child. My mom was always like this. She mocked my appearance and seized every opportunity to hurl cruel words at me. Just because she was pretty, she looked down on me. Stop it. Please, just stop. I pleaded. Sitting together in the back seat of the car, Mom treated the resisting me like a toy, repeating the same torment over and over while cackling loudly. At 8 years old, I was truly disgusted and couldn't take it anymore. Hey, enough already. We're almost at our destination. Get ready. Dad interrupted, prompting Mom to sling the backpack next to me over my shoulders. He had said we were going on a picnic in the mountains. With Grandma coming along for the first time in a while, I was excited and couldn't wait to get out of the car. I get to see Grandma. The innocent me. Back then had no idea my parents were about to abandon me in the middle of the mountains, so I was just looking forward to it. I couldn't wait to see Grandma, anticipating the moment with all my heart. All right, we're here, Dad announced as he pulled the car over. But we were still in the middle of the mountain road, with only a small pull-off area for turning the car around. I felt something was off, but I enthusiastically flung the door open and jumped out. Tall trees surrounded me, creating a familiar scene, but I couldn't tell exactly where we were. By then, Mom said as she shut the door. Shocked, I desperately clung to the door, screaming for her to open it. Hey, open up! Why are you doing this? Let me in! Mom was inside the car, doubled over with laughter. Meanwhile, Dad couldn't drive off because I was frantically hanging onto the door, glancing at me sideways several times. Hey, get Amanda away from the door. We can't move like this. Dad yelled at Mom inside the car. Hearing his voice, Mom stopped laughing and rolled down the window to hurl the worst words at me. How many times have I told you? Stop making that face. To be honest, an ugly thing like you isn't my child, so you're not part of this family. Got it? By then. I think Grandma will come here eventually, so go to her. Bye-bye. Hearing those words, I couldn't grasp the situation anymore. I was still just an 8-year-old child. Suddenly faced with this, I didn't know what to do and could only stand there in a daze. Hey, enough already. You're still clinging to the door, aren't you? I'm telling you to let go because it's dangerous if we drive off. Push her away. Dad's voice came from inside the open window. Stunned by his words, I felt tears welling up. Following Dad's instructions, Mom shoved me as I clung to the door. Tumbling onto the mountain road, all I could do was watch the car drive away while crying. You're too slow. What if Grandma comes to pick her up? We agreed to get away before that happens. Dad's angry shouts echoed from the departing car. The words uttered by my parents stuck in my ears, becoming a trauma. Overwhelmed by the shock of being abandoned by my parents and the eerie atmosphere of the darkening mountain road, I burst into loud sobs on the spot. I'm scared. Mom, Dad, come back. Don't leave me here. I'm scared, Mom. My cries faded into the mountains as the darkness grew. No one could hear me, and that realization only intensified my sadness and fear, turning my voice into strange screams. I'm scared. I'm so scared. Someone, anyone, please come. Mom, Dad. My voice rose to an ultrasonic pitch, vanishing further into the darkness. However, as if in response, a light like car headlights appeared down the mountain road, and I started running towards it. Mom! But it wasn't my parents' car as I had hoped, but the lights of a truck driven by Grandma. Spotting me crying loudly, Grandma immediately got out of the car and rushed over to me. Amanda, you came here alone? I was heading to the mountaintop because Mom said you were going that way, so why are you here? Where are Mom and Dad? They abandoned me. I was so scared, Grandma. They abandoned me. Relieved to see Grandma, I sobbed into her chest, soaking her apron with tears and snot. Grandma put me in the truck and drove down the mountain road. Are you really telling the truth about your parents abandoning you? I can't believe they would do such a thing to a child, Grandma muttered in the truck. But when we reached the bottom of the mountain and arrived home, she searched through my backpack, found something like a letter, and her face turned pale. Those two really did abandon Amanda, it seems. It's written clearly in this letter. They're asking us to take care of you because they can't handle the trouble. As she read the letter aloud, I shook my head, told her those words were lies, and revealed the truth. Mom said I'm not part of the family because I'm ugly. So they don't want me anymore. She said that? But you know what, Amanda, you'll be okay. I'm sure you'll be fine. You'll understand what it means when you turn 18, so can you endure until then? Yeah. As long as I'm with you, I can stay. I can endure it. That's right. Well then, let's make those two regret what they did, Grandma said, gently stroking my head. 10 years later, on the day I came of age, my parents suddenly showed up at my high-rise apartment, setting themselves on a path to ruin. My name is Amanda. I was born with an unfortunate appearance, and I heard that even when I was a baby, my mother would make fun of my looks while talking to her friends. From a young age, I was ridiculed and subjected to cruel words about my appearance. Why is Amanda so gross-looking? Her eyes are always glaring, and you can't even tell if they're fully open. Such a weird face, honestly. Hey, don't laugh so much. That's mean. But I get what you're saying. My father, like my mother, often mocked and laughed at my face. The two of them seemed to have severe complexes about faces, and whenever they passed someone on the street, they would say things to each other like, "That person's mouth is unfortunate. She has a big nose." My parents had well-defined features and were both considered enviably good-looking by society's standards. But honestly, they had terrible personalities and were the kind of people who constantly pointed out others' flaws. That's why, until recently, I thought they were just obsessed with other people's appearances and liked to badmouth them. Being beautiful is a good thing. But ugly people don't put in any effort, so they stay ugly forever. They're hopeless losers who won't even try, and that's why they end up ugly. This was always my mother's catchphrase. She would loudly proclaim this line in the middle of the street, seeming to feel a sense of superiority over those around her. When the people around us would give us cold looks, it made me feel awful. "Mommy, carry me." Even when I said that, wanting to avoid the stares around us, my mother never carried me. She probably hated having my face close to hers. When I asked to be carried, she would make a disgusted face and move away from me. It was a hurtful experience for my child self. "Amanda, have you been doing well? Take it easy today." I was frequently left at my mother's parents' house. Both my mother and father worked at the same place, so they often had to leave the house empty for business trips and would leave me with my grandmother. "Grandma, carry me." I always begged my grandmother as soon as I arrived at her house. She would happily accept and immediately pick me up. "So, how long will they be gone this time?" "They'll come to pick up Amanda in a week." Every single time, those business trips must be tough. Take care and have a safe trip. Grandma always sighed as she saw my mother off at the front door. I've known about the business trips since long ago, but do they really have to go so often? This kept happening frequently until I turned 6, and Grandma must have found it strange because she would always mutter and tilt her head at me. Young as I was, I would also tilt my head in response, and it became a regular exchange of, "Is that so?" Then one day, an incident occurred. There was a comment from the teacher on your elementary school report card, and apparently, Amanda, you're popular in your class? Bright, good at making friends, and good at studying. What the heck is this? You're standing out more than me, aren't you? Don't go becoming popular, it's gross. An ugly girl like you should just keep quiet. Don't go becoming popular. When I was at home, I was too scared of my mother to really be myself. So I tried my best to be true to myself at school, making an effort to act cheerfully. That was the real me. But my mother denied that, and I retreated back into my shell. From then on, my mother's attitude towards me changed even more. Come here, I'll make that hideous face of yours cute. She started waving scissors around and chasing after me. It seemed like she was just trying to scare me, and she never actually tried to cut my face, but I still can't forget her crazed expression in that moment. It was so frightening, it became a trauma. And around the time I entered 3rd grade, my parents told me we were going on a picnic in the mountains. Grandma was coming too, so I thought it would be a fun picnic and was looking forward to it. I've told you so many times to stop making that glaring face. To be honest, an ugly girl like you isn't my child, so you're not part of this family. Got it? By then. I think Grandma will come here eventually, so you go to Grandma's place. Bye-bye. But reality was cruelly cold. Kicked out of the car, told by my mother that I wasn't family, abandoned in the mountains, the road growing dark, I was filled with loneliness. I was so scared and crying my eyes out when Grandma came, and I ended up going to Grandma's house, where she told me the truth. Those two really did abandon Amanda, it seems. It's written clearly in this letter. They're asking us to take care of you because they can't handle the trouble, it says. Those words left a deep wound in my heart. When I told Grandma that it was really because my face was gross, she accepted that too and hugged me. You know, I had a vague feeling that those two didn't really like you very much. Why? As we entered Grandma's house and started talking, Aunt Chloe overheard and joined the conversation. Actually, when I was little, I had a face just like you, Amanda. Saying that, she showed me a photo. Of the 2 children in the picture, one of them resembled me. Is this person Chloe? As I pointed to the person in the photo and said that, Chloe nodded and pointed to the child next to her. And the child next to me is your mom. I was stunned when I saw that face. The complete opposite of her current beautiful face. Her eyes in the photo were so swollen that I couldn't tell if they were open or closed as they stared at me through the picture. Even sharper than my own gaze, and I felt an abnormal sense of unease. This child is Mom? I know it's a totally different image from now, but she had a face like this when she was little. It's completely different from now. Why? Chloe explained to me. In the past, my mother had a complex about her own face and was jealous of her sister's more well-proportioned features, so she bullied her. I was told that she was bullied in her class because of her face when she was in elementary school. My mother had a past like that. That's why she was obsessed with my face to an abnormal degree. When I was born, Chloe said that my mother had never forgotten how she was irritated that I resembled her face from the past. Amanda's mom couldn't stand how much she hated her own face, so after graduating high school, she desperately worked to save up money to get plastic surgery on her face. With that money, she got surgery and obtained that face she has now. But her twisted personality from the past hasn't changed. If anything, she started making discriminatory remarks, comparing other people's faces to her own. I don't really understand. Young as I was, I tried to understand what Chloe was saying, but I couldn't fully grasp it all. However, Chloe continued by saying this. What do you think when you look at my face from the past and my face now? They're totally different. I think you're incredibly beautiful now. That's right. My face changed this much without any plastic surgery. Amanda, you probably have the same type of face as me, so when you grow up, you might end up with a face similar to mine. Saying that, Chloe stroked my head. Then Grandma approached, gently took my hand, and spoke to me in a kind voice. That's how it is. Like I said earlier, your face will change quite a bit by the time you come of age. If you ever have the chance to meet your foolish father and mother, then you can show them up. Hearing that, I made a decision. With Grandma and Chloe's guidance, I decided to work hard to become a beautiful woman and get back at my parents. 10 years had passed since I was abandoned by my parents. At 18, I finally reached adulthood. You're beautiful, Amanda. Even more beautiful than me. I'm surprised too. I was scouted and asked if I wanted to become a model. I must be considered that beautiful, right? I'm so happy. I feel like the past 10 years of Chloe and Grandma raising me weren't wasted. I think so too. I'm sure she is crying tears of joy in heaven. Grandma passed away 6 months before I came of age. 2 years ago, we were told by the doctor that she had developed cancer, and she had been fighting the illness ever since. I wanted to see Amanda turn 18, but I guess it's not possible, Grandma said before passing away. But Grandma did have one piece of good news to share before she died. 2 years ago, while I was out playing with friends in town, I was scouted and decided to become a model. According to the scout, my brightness shone through, and that's why they recruited me. I wonder if it was because I truly wanted to be cheerful at school and interact with lots of people. I wanted to live a happy life, so I did my best to radiate brightness. It seems that was a good thing. When I reported this to Grandma, she was incredibly surprised. I feel that the proper upbringing Grandma and Chloe gave me also contributed to me being able to become a model. Grandma, thank you so much. You thoroughly taught me how to walk beautifully and correct my posture. Grandma also taught me a lot about what I should do for beauty, like foods and types of lotions. I think it's thanks to that I was able to become like this. By becoming a model and having my existence known to the world, I'm sure Mom and Dad will see me too, and I think they'll be frustrated. I said that to Grandma and Chloe, expressing my gratitude for everything until now. 2 years later, Grandma passed away, and with the money Chloe and I had received as a gift before her death, we tore down our current house and moved into a high-rise apartment. It turns out Grandpa was quite wealthy, and before he died, he had apparently transferred all the land, houses, and assets he owned to Grandma. Come to think of it, our previous house was surrounded by mountains, but it seems most of the surrounding mountains were our property, and I found out that the mountain where my parents abandoned me was actually within the grounds of her house. I used to play on that mountain when I was little too, but I got lost once and Grandpa had to come get me. I heard something then. Apparently even Grandpa didn't grasp the full extent of the property. It was just incredibly vast. That big? Were they doing agriculture or something? No, they weren't. I heard he was a landlord. Apparently it was land that had been owned by Grandpa's grandpa for a long time. I heard they rented it out to nearby farmers, but I wonder what happened with that. However, in the end, no one ended up using that land anymore, and it was all sold off. At 18, with the money from Grandma that seemed enough to make a living, I decided to use that money to further pursue modeling and was looking for a place to live on my own. At that time, the doorbell of the house rang loudly. Wondering who it could be, I peeked and saw Mom and Dad standing there.
Huh, why they are here? What?
Chloe said that and peeked with me, and upon seeing their faces, anger seemed to well up inside her, so she unlocked the door and led the two of them into the room.
Wait a second, Chloe. Why did you let those two in?
I was scared, reminded of the past. The way Mom treated me and her verbal abuse haven't faded even now, vividly resurfacing in my mind. Remembering it in my head made my body tremble. I was terrified. Would they say something again? Would they be violent with me again? I cowered at the thought. It's okay. You're strong now. Since it's come to this, let's fight together. I'm sure we can do something about it. Chloe encouraged the frightened me, gently rubbing my body. Mom came into the room from the entrance, shouting in a loud voice. I found you, you plastic surgery girl. What's so fun about getting plastic surgery and becoming a model? Is this to get back at me? Don't mess with me. Mom approached me while yelling nonsense and grabbed me by the collar. I was frightened and my shoulders shrank, but I mustered up my courage, knowing I couldn't lose anymore, and shouted at Mom.
Plastic surgery girl? That's you, isn't it? I know everything about your past. How dare you talk to your mother like that?
She yelled and shoved me. But I didn't falter.
It doesn't matter. I haven't had any plastic surgery like you're saying. I became like this on my own, with Chloe and Grandma teaching me various things.
Mom glared at me, then shifted her target to Chloe, who was watching our fight, and lunged at her.
Is what Amanda's saying true? Did she really change that much and become a model without any plastic surgery?
That's right. She worked hard to become beautiful in the 10 years since you abandoned her. It's Amanda's effort.
Then why was I ugly since the day I was born? You too. When you were little, you had a crushed-looking face like Amanda's, but you grew up to be more beautiful than me. That's why I couldn't forgive it. That's why I worked hard to save money and get plastic surgery too. But still.
Mom suddenly broke down crying on the spot and stopped moving. As Chloe and I watched, not understanding what was going on, we heard the sound of something breaking repeatedly from the back room.
Huh, what? That sound just now.
Stop him, Mom said in a small voice while crying.
What? What did you just say? Stop him.
As she said that, the sound of things breaking was heard over and over again, and shouting started coming from the back of the room.
Don't mess with me. There's not a single thing here worth any money. Bring out something expensive.
Hearing that shout, Mom started muttering something in a small voice again. My whole life was ruined because of him. All my money disappeared because of him. Everything because of him. Because of him. Saying that, Mom ran out of the room crying and headed toward the room where the noise was coming from. Chloe and I followed after her. There, we found Dad rampaging around, breaking things in the room.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop it.
As Chloe shouted that, Dad's hands stopped and he slowly walked toward Chloe with a sharp gaze.
What is it? What on earth do you want?
Give me money. I need money. If I don't get money right now, everything will be over. So give me money.
Enough already. It's not all your fault that you don't have money. Everything is your fault, but you push it onto me too, and that's why this is happening, isn't it? Take responsibility.
Mom stopped Dad, who looked like he was about to attack Chloe, and got on top of him. Dad struggled against it, but Mom, slowly coming back to her senses, started crying again and suddenly began recounting the situation up until now. At first, it was just his debt. He was in the same situation as me, hating his own face, so he borrowed money from his parents to get plastic surgery. He should have paid the money back to his in-laws quickly, but the good-for-nothing couldn't even repay his debts and was cut off by his in-laws who got fed up with him. As soon as she started talking about that, Dad went silent and started crying with tears in his eyes. That's right, it's all my fault. I should have worked hard somehow to pay back my parents' debt, but I borrowed money from consumer finance companies over and over.
What's this all of a sudden? You brazenly barge into someone's house, make a huge mess, and now you want sympathy? Don't mess with me. Have you guys ever thought about Amanda's feelings?
The two were momentarily silenced by Chloe's valid point, but Mom apologized and begged us to hear her out. I don't expect you to sympathize with us. But if I don't say this, you won't understand how much financial trouble we're in right now, will you?
What? In the end, you want to borrow money, right? You knew how much inheritance Grandma had, so you somehow found this place and came to ask us, didn't you?
That's right. But just listen to this. To pay back the debt, I introduced him to my company and we desperately worked to pay back the money. When Amanda was little, the many times we left her with Grandma, we were actually going on business trips, working desperately to somehow pay back the debt. But the debt kept increasing, and on top of that, he made me a guarantor without my knowledge and kept borrowing more and more money until we couldn't keep up. So I took out my frustration on Amanda, and since the two of us couldn't do anything about it, we thought we'd have Grandma take her in.
So in the end, it was just self-destruction, wasn't it? So you bullied Amanda, and when it became difficult to raise her, you just abandoned her in the mountains and ran away? What's with that? In the end, you still didn't like my face, did you? I heard from Chloe. When I was born, you hated me because I resembled Chloe's face. Don't act like you were educating me now.
Hearing my words, Mom suddenly bowed her head to me and pulled out a certain magazine from the bag she was carrying. When I found this, I knew it was Amanda. Because she resembled Chloe's face. I was surprised to find out Amanda had become a model. I never really thought Amanda got like this through plastic surgery. I knew from the beginning, but I just didn't want to think that way. It was jealousy. That's why I got even more irritated. I wanted revenge on you, so I somehow found out where you were.
So what did you want to do by coming here? In the end, you just self-destructed. Sorry, but the inheritance Grandma had was inherited by me and Chloe. You don't have any.
I know that. That's why I'm telling you. At this rate, no matter how much we work, it'll all disappear with the debt. There's nothing we can do but go bankrupt. So please, just once is fine. Just once, please lend us money thinking you're helping us.
I'm begging you to. Somehow help us out, thinking you're saving us. No way. I hate both of you. Don't act like parents now when you abandoned me and ran away when I was 8. My moms are Chloe and Grandma. Don't ever show your faces in front of me again.
But Mom kept begging me despite my words. Please. I'm really begging you. Please help me. You don't care if I die?
I don't know. I don't think of you as my mom. Please just go.
Still, the two of them persistently kept apologizing. But that didn't last long either. Dad, at his limit, shouted and tried to hit us. Stop. I'm telling you to stop. I'm telling you not to solve things with violence. Why do you always try to hit people and take their money when you're cornered like this? I've told you so many times. If you do that this time, I'll divorce you. Mom was desperate. She probably didn't really want things to get violent. She wanted to talk it out and negotiate with us no matter what, but she seemed unable to control her reason. Dad especially seemed to have always had that kind of personality, and Mom seemed to hate that about him.
Then what do you want me to do? Talking it out in a situation like this won't even solve anything. What's the point?
Still, let's keep begging. Mom kept begging over and over, trying her best to convey her sincerity to us. But even with that, our feelings didn't change.
You know it's already impossible, don't you? Then shouldn't you just honestly file for personal bankruptcy? I'm sorry, but I'm not lending you money either, so get out of this house. I'm calling the police.
The moment she mentioned the police, Dad's eyes widened and he punched Chloe in the face. The raw sound of the punch rang out in the room, and two of her teeth fell to the floor. Holding her mouth and crouching down, Mom saw that and slapped him. It had finally escalated into a violent incident. I immediately called the police, and the two were taken away. Dad and Mom were arrested, a restraining order was issued against them for us, and we would never see our parents again.
Chloe, is that wound on your face okay? It's bleeding quite a bit.
The wound on Chloe's face from being punched was terrible. Her beautiful face was ruined by that wound. But Chloe didn't seem to care about that at all and spoke to me with a laugh. That was scary. I've had enough of that kind of thing. I don't care about the wound on my face since I was able to protect Amanda. Plus, I think they'll be billed for the treatment, so I'll get proper treatment without worrying about it. Afterward, Chloe's broken teeth were somehow repaired by filling them with new teeth, and the wound on her face healed completely in a few months, returning her face to normal. And as Chloe predicted, the bill for that treatment ended up going to our parents. Of course, they have absolutely no money. They'll be forced to live a difficult life, but that's the end result of looking down on people until now. They'll probably spend their whole lives paying it back. A few days later, I officially came of age and am now living a glamorous life as a model. Thank you for saving me back then. I never thought I'd have an encounter like this. I now have a boyfriend named Vincent. He was one of the officers who helped when my mom and the others barged into the high-rise apartment, the person who restrained my dad when he tried to hit me. On top of that, he knew I was a famous model and turned out to be an enthusiastic fan, yet he still said he wanted to be with me and that he loved me. That made me so happy.
I'm glad too. I never thought you would be in that high-rise apartment.
The two of us rented a new high-rise apartment together and are now living together. Chloe, who stayed in that high-rise apartment, seems to have never wanted to get married, and she appears to be living carefree, saying she'll enjoy life in that spacious apartment. And after those parents got out of detention, the house they had been living in was seized, they lost all their money, and Mom and Dad got divorced. I heard from him that they're each starting their lives over from zero again. You had a tough life too, Amanda. I was surprised when I heard your story. I thought maybe you had a more glamorous life since you're a model, but from now on, I want to build a happy life together, just the two of us, So I'm really counting on you. That was his proposal to me. 3 years after we started dating, we got married. I'm now happily living together with Vincent, me as a model and him as a police officer.